everyone, and welcome and Happy New Year. Welcome to the For Fun of Knit podcast. My name is Linda, and I know it's mid-January already, but it's still a new year. I'm going to take the whole entire month of January to celebrate 2023, the coming on of 2023, and I have to say it's great to be back. For those of you that are new to my channel, I have been in Spain for the last 6 weeks. Just got back. Today is January 19th, Thursday. I got back Sunday night. Still a little jet lagged. So excuse if I have any sort of hiccups along the way. But I actually wrote notes for this podcast because I'm really trying to keep myself on track. Anyway, this podcast is just starting off the new year. I actually recorded a New Year's video the first week of January. Technology in the rental place we were at did not agree with me, so I was unable to load it. So that was kind of frustrating because I so wanted to say Happy New Year to everybody in a more timely manner. Then I thought, okay, well, I got home. I can't sleep anyway because of jet lag. I'm going to record my New Year's video. So on Tuesday, I did the same thing. I recorded a whole video just to say Happy New Year. Yeah, the jet lag showed. Got my dates wrong, pattern names wrong, designer names wrong. Didn't remember the yarn. It was a bit of a gong show. There was too many mistakes in it, so third time's the charm. So today, I'm here to say formally, Happy New Year. So, what can I tell you? This is the first video in a 3-part series. I am respectful of your time, trying to be. And I have lots to talk about, so I thought I would break it up. There's going to be 3 videos. This video is looking back on 2022. Not a new concept. I've done this 3 years in a row now. I have been watching all the wonderful podcasters out there reflect on their 2022 and their makes, and I enjoy each and every one of them. So I'm going to do that with mine. I have to say some of their makes are a heck of a lot more interesting, but I guess that's kind of relative. The second video is going to be looking forward into 2023. I am so excited, so stoked about this year. So 2023, I'm going to look into what my intentions are for the year and what patterns are inspiring me and I'm just itching to cast on. So that'll be video number 2. Video number 3 is all about taking inventory. So I'm not going to give too much away, but we're definitely going to be taking a look at all the yarn that I have. Not each and every piece of yarn. No, I won't kill anybody, bore anybody by doing that. But there's a lot of chatter on the podcasters right now about, knitting out of stash and destashing and reducing their footprint in yarn. I'm not about that. That isn't going to be my approach. However, I will cover off that in the 3rd video. Now, the fun part is I'm going to have all these videos done in January, so I will still be on track to kick off the year with a plan in place for my crafty adventures and misadventures in 2023. So looking forward to that. So let's take a look at 2022. I cannot believe the year is over. I know I'm late to the table because it's like the 19th already, but I still cannot believe how fast that year went. And maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. But I did think it went fast. So let's talk about knitting. First, where do I want to start? Hang on a second. Let's take a look at my intentions. What were my intentions in 2022? That is where I think I'd like to start. So, last year I was in Spain about this time. And I did my New Year's video from Spain, and I said my word was move. And that was very true. It was a very good word for me for 2022 because it was really about being more active, more physical, really trying to engage my brain more, really trying to be more creative, and move myself creatively, I can't even say that, creatively, spiritually, not in a religious sense, more of a inner peace and harmony sense, self-awareness sense. And I think I did a pretty good job, and I'll recap some of that. And then I had 9 intentions. I sort of flipped between the word goals and 9 intentions, and I'm out with the goals. No goals. And that's just a unintended bias from my working life. Goals to me always, you had to have stretch goals, you had to have career goals, you had to have all these goals that you needed to achieve. And that is not the space for my knitting. No. That's not to say that I don't like goals. I think goals are hugely important. And there's a cloud coming over, so I might lose some of my light. But anyway, goals are important, and I think you need to have... I shouldn't say that. Let me rephrase that. How do you say that? For me, I like to have goals. Absolutely. I like to have a sense of achievement, even in my non-working life. And I think I'm going to pause right here and change the lighting. Hang on a second. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. A whole bunch of clouds just came over and took all my beautiful late afternoon sun. It was perfect. It was lovely. Anyway, it's still beautiful weather. I can't complain. But where was I? I was talking about, and I took the opportunity to, of course, replenish my champagne, my sparkling wine, and this is from Summerland Winery in the Okanagan of British Columbia, and it's a rosé, and it's called Stellar J. Stellar J. It's excellent. Excellent. Anyway, so we talked about move, and that was my word for the year. I'll talk about how that went. Then I had 9 we were talking about intentions. That's what we were talking about. So goals, wonderful goals. I do have personal goals, but when it comes to my knitting, I want intentions, because this is all about the for fun of knitting, and for me it is pure enjoyment, and I do not want to layer onto it anything that might have expectations or timelines or yeah, exactly. So I think you know what I mean. So this is for the fun of knit, and that's what we are committed to. So last year I had some intentions. So one was to work on all my languishing whips. So I have had whips from 2019 still, and I had 8 in total, and I will talk about those a little bit. So working on my languishing whips, getting through those, knitting from my stash. I have a wonderful curated closet full of beautiful yarns, and so I wanted to knit from my stash. I wanted to create a wearable wardrobe. So wearable is an interesting word, so I'll talk about that. I wanted to knit my gift knits in advance of the actual event. In 2021, I found that I was rushing to get things knit at the last minute because I tend to be a little bit of a procrastinator, just a little. It's either that or I'm just overly ambitious and I run out of time. I think I like the latter better than a procrastinator. So I wanted in 2022 to think about the gifts I wanted to make ahead of time and then actually make them months ahead so that I wasn't working on them at the last minute. In the same vein, I wanted to make space in my knitting environment for those special occasion knits, the special event knitting like the Stephen West Mystery Knit Along in October of every year and Advent knitting. Those are the 2 big ones for me. I wanted to learn some new techniques. I think learning and knowledge is just a very powerful thing. I had a goal of knitting 24 pairs of socks. All I'm going to say to that is, what the heck was I thinking? 24 pairs of socks. Why would I put that down as an intention? I said goal, but I meant intention. I wanted to knit for others, for charity. So not gift knitting, charity. And lastly, my ninth intention was to really, in an effort to make time slow down, enjoy every stitch and really make a conscious effort to look at what I was doing and enjoy the process. Because I am a process knitter, but really looking at the whole garment and being more holistic about it. And I just wanted to slow the whole process down. So, how did I do? Well, interestingly enough, I had to actually watch last year's video to remember what I committed to myself, what my intentions were. That is why I don't put them as goals, because they seem to be a little fluid. However, it's funny, my pace of knitting, the number of projects, almost identical to last year. And I faced the same challenges in 2022 as I did in 2021. I don't know. So have I grown as a person or a knitter? Doesn't really look like it. But anyway, so what did I do? I actually knit 7 sweaters, 6 shawls, 9 pairs of socks, 9.5 if you consider I have half a pair done, and 6 other projects that included hats and some other projects, and I'm going to go through them briefly back here. The sun is now trying to come back. If I blow out, it's because the sun's going to come back out. And so let's see how I did according to my lovely intentions in 2022. So let's talk about all the languishing whips that I had. So I need to use my glasses. Hang on a second. So I had 8 languishing whips. The oldest languishing whips was the Breathing Space sweater by Vera Valimaki. Then I had it, which was 2000, outstanding since 2018. Oh my. And all I had to do was the sleeves. Who would have thunk it? The next, I had the Brioche Luscious shawl by Andrea Mowry. That was outstanding from 2019. I had a gnome project from Landscape Designs from 2019 and Patrick Sweater from 2019. I had the Slipstravaganza from 2020, which is a Stephen West shawl, the Stillness shawl from Helen Stewart from 2020. I had the Astraeus Test Knit sweater from Bad Wolf Girl Knits from 2020. And lastly, I had the Speckle and Pot from 2021. So those were all my outstanding whips. I actually completed how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I completed 5 of the 8. Not bad. So I will go through those in a bit. Knitting from stash, I knit a total of, I do believe, 28 projects. The year before it was 30 projects, but 28 projects, of which 19 were from existing yarns that I had. So yay, I think I did really well there. Create a wearable wardrobe. No. Same challenge as last year. I made all this stuff behind me, and yet I have nothing to wear. Or let's put it this way, very little to wear. And I'll explain that. So I gave myself an F when it came to a wearable wardrobe. Again, 2nd year in a row. Gift knit in advance, I actually did that. So I gave myself an A in gift knitting in advance. I did make some projects well ahead of time, so that was great. Make space for special event knitting, like the Stephen West shawl this year was the Twist and Turns, and Advent knitting. I gave myself an A in those too. I did not finish my Stephen West shawl on time, but that's for a totally different reason. But I did make space for it. I made sure I didn't have too much on my needles. I had no projects that I was super eager to get finished at that time, so I wasn't distracted. So I thought that worked really well. Learn new techniques, I only gave myself a C. Not a complete fail. I had these aspirations that I would learn intarsia this year, that I would try steeking this year. None of that happened. I don't know why. I did a lot of online learning in 2021, almost none in 2022. I don't know. Don't ask me what happened. What I did give myself credit for was a Stephen West shawl, although that was not my own motivation. It was through doing that shawl. What I did learn is how to do the shadow wrap heel. So that was good. And I can't think of any other skills that I actually learned. Oh, and I dabbled in sewing. Was that this year or last year? I have to think about it. See, this is the jet lag brain. I don't remember what year. I'm not going to take credit for it. I'm going to give myself a fail. I really didn't learn that much. I'm sure I learned more, but I can't remember it. Knitting for others. Oh, epic fail. Yeah, epic fail. I love knitting, and I do like knitting for charity, and I don't know what it is. I have to put a better plan together. Didn't do any. I did none that I can think of this year, 2022. So that is an area of opportunity for me in 2023. But we're going to talk about that in the next video. And lastly, to really slow down and enjoy every stitch. I think I did a better job of that this year. I'm nowhere near where I need to be. That also had to do with my book or my word of the year, which was move, like move myself, forward, physically and spiritually, and just enjoying every stitch. I didn't have expectations of a lot of projects that I needed to finish this year. I had some expectations of what I wanted to knit. But what I was guided by is what I felt like knitting. So I think it's kind of airy-fairy. If I have intentions next year, I think I'd like to make my intentions a little bit more clear for 2023. But I don't know. It seemed to work for me. I still think, I don't know about you, but the world is turning so fast for me right now, and time is going, like, again, it's January 19th already. And I just blinked and I felt like I just left home to go to Spain, and blink, it's gone. And I'm just trying to grab onto it and make it stick around just a little bit longer. Oh, that is my big stressor. That is the thing that triggers me, is when time just seems to go so fast. And I don't know why that bothers me, but it is bothering me. Just want to lay it out there. So if you have any feelings of the same, let me know. So that's how I did on my lovely intentions. Those were my intentions, and I sort of gave myself a bit of a report card. But now let's talk about the actual knitting. Let's talk about the knitting. So I knit 7 sweaters. Yay! So let's talk about the sweaters. Where are my sweaters? Okay, now I didn't set this up properly, folks. This is going to just be pretty ugly, the way I'm going to have to do this now, without tearing the whole world apart. And I'm tearing the world apart. Okay. So let's put them down here, and then we'll put them back there later. But I'm trying not to wreck everything. That's impossible. Okay. So let's talk about the first one, which was my winter ranunculus. And this is the winter ranunculus by Knit Cafe Midori, or Midori Hirose. This is not an unwoven end. That is just so I can tell the back from the front. Even though I have done short rows, I still find that helpful. But this is a pattern. It required bulky yarn. No, pardon me, it didn't require bulky yarn. This allows you to have any yarn weight that you want on this pattern. I chose a bulky, which is Cacia Peru. I bought this yarn in Spain at a little corner store, a haberdashery that has a little bit of everything. And so this is a very winter weight wool. It's 40% wool, 20% alpaca, and 40% acrylic. It's itchy. I'm not going to say that this is next to skin nice. It's itchy. For some people, you might not have a problem with this. Me, it was a little itchy. So I need to wear a thick shirt underneath it. Just because the alpaca is not a refined alpaca. The alpaca still has the guard hairs or whatever, and so it pokes at me every now and then. but each one of the balls had 106 meters or 116 yards, and I used 6 balls for this sweater. Now, the recommended needle size when you're knitting the ranunculus is 6, what is it? It is 6.5 meters or a US 10, or US 10.5 or 6.5 millimeter, not meters, 6 millimeter, 6 to 6.5 millimeter needle. All I had when I was in Spain in the beginning part of the year was 4 millimeter needles. So hence my fabric is really dense. It's beautiful. I love the way this knit up. I really do. I love, the yarn is very heavy. I will say this is a winter sweater. But it just shows you that the pattern can go, the pattern doesn't matter. This is why this pattern is so popular. It doesn't matter if you're doing it lace weight or doing it bulky weight. The sweater is going to work out. I absolutely love that pattern. So that was sweater number 1. Sweater number 2 was my Vera Valimaki, and this was my one of my longest standing whip. Yay! I finished it. I absolutely finished it. Hope you can see that. Breathing Space, Vera Valimaki, and I absolutely love this particular pattern. I think it's one of the best fitting between this one in terms of the torso, underarms, just the way it fits. This one and Casa Pinka's Raise the Woof are my 2 best fitting sweaters. They're both fingering weight, interestingly enough, but there you go. And you can see the slanted hem on it. The only modification that I made was I did a split hem. It wasn't necessary, but I just did that. I don't know why I did that. And I probably made it a little bit longer than the pattern suggested. I knit it, oh, I should tell you that. I knit it with Madeline Tosh singles, 100% merino singles in the color Poison, and Ancient Arts BF, 100% BFL fingering in the color Chocolate Cherries. 2 colors you would not think go well together at all, and it turned out absolutely marvelous. And these were stash yarns. So I finished long-standing whip. Absolutely love it. Love it, love it, love it. Third sweater that I knit was the Deshane, and the Deshane is a Layla Raven pattern. Hope you can see that. I don't know where's the better, this light is confusing me. Layla Raven pattern, and what can I tell you about this pattern? The actual pattern is knit in Quince & Company Kestrel, which is a worsted weight but a chained linen. So it's very, very light. I didn't have that. I was knitting from stash, and this is stash that I've had probably since 2020, if not 2019, which I knit mine in Luet Euro Flax wet spun linen, which is in the aubergine colorway, which is a sport weight, and I held it double. It is lovely in terms of drape, and it feels great on. It is much heavier than the Quince & Co. Kestrel would be, because these are 2 solid linen fibers that are creating a very heavy yarn, but it just gets more drapey as time goes on. It's lovely. What can I tell you about this? If I knit it again, which I will knit it again, would I knit it again? Is this one of the ones I would knit again? I don't know that I would knit this again. If I did knit again, I think I would knit, yes, I would make this again. Here's why I hesitate a little bit on this one. Because it didn't call for short rows in the pattern. I had to do that myself, and I didn't do enough of them. So it is still very boat necky, which ends up hitting me right at my Adam's apple, even though I did a few short rows in the back. I'm not that experienced in adapting patterns, so I should have done more short rows in the back. That's number 1. Number 2, because this yarn is so heavy, can you see that the front is far longer than the back. So the front is far longer than the back. This is an easy fix. I still have some yarn left. So I am going to unseam the bottom, the back of it, undo the ribbing, make it longer, and then redo it. So I'm going to add about 2 inches to the back. I might have to do short rows on the back is probably how it's going to work, so that I can actually join the ribbing. But that is it. So right now it's absolutely beautiful. But in terms of the wearable wardrobe, I'll talk about that in a second, because I'm not 100% too sure. So that was the Deshane. The next one that I knit is the Reluctant Homeschooler. The Reluctant Homeschooler, mine doesn't look like the pattern because I used, this is by Boylan Knitworks or Caitlin Hunter, and I used that pattern and then I amended it. I wanted it longer. I had a stash of single skein bulky yarns, and so I just used them. I just did color play. I just felt like using them all. So I've got a combination of Lily Pine, Over the Moon. This is Tofino Yarns from Vancouver Island. This is yarn that Patrick brought me home from Ireland, which is an Aran weight, so it's a different weight than everything else, but it blooms like it's bulky. There you go. So I love this. This is my favorite make of the year in terms of sweaters because I wear this like a housecoat. One, the colors are a little bit out there for an actual wardrobe piece, but that would be it. And it's way too big. It's way too big. Why is it too big? Do I know why it's too big? It is too big. I don't know if there's a difference between chunky weight yarn and bulky, and I think there must be, number one. And for my size, I knit a size 3, but my gauge was so big, I ended up going down 1 needle size. I probably could have gone down even more because of the yarn weight, and because I made it so long, I think it's just stretched out and hangs big. I love it. I wouldn't trade this one. I do want to make this one again because I think it's a very, very good pattern. The shoulders fit so well. The whole V-neck and the buttonholes worked so well. I absolutely loved it. But next time I knit it, I'm going to make it in a solid color, very similar to the pattern, in a tweed-like yarn. So when I get around to knitting it again, and I will someday, that is that particular sweater. The next sweater is my Summer Ranunculus. Now this sweater, which I can never figure out which is the back and which is the front, there we go. This sweater is an awesome sweater. Like, I have to say, most wearable sweater I've made. In terms of, this is the one piece that I have made in my wardrobe that I feel is a wearable wardrobe. It is the Ranunculus. I've already talked about it, but this I actually did in Quince & Company Kestrel, and because you can use any weight. My one mistake that I will say about this, look at how big it is I don't know why, but I cast on extra stitches around the neck. I don't know why. I don't know why I did that. For some reason, I was really worried that the neck would be too narrow. And it's not at all. And it's linen, so it's stretched. And so there you have it. I love it though. It absolutely just goes to show you it doesn't matter what fabric. It doesn't matter short sleeve, long sleeve. It works. This particular one, what did I use? I used 6 skeins of the Kestrel, and I followed to plan, like the right size needles, everything else. It worked perfectly. I would knit many more of those. So, and I think that's a common theme that you'll hear from people. The Ranunculus is just an easy sweater to actually wear. Okay, the next sweater I don't have, and I don't even have a picture of it, was the Marled North Fork pattern, which I ended up giving to my sister, and it was chartreuse on the top, and then it bled into sort of this beautiful marine blue, and then bled into cream. Sometimes I knit stuff and it just looks better on my mom or my sister, and so that's where those sweaters are. And the last sweater that I made, which was, oh no, not the last sweater, but the second to last sweater I made. So hang on a second, that was my 5th sweater, was the North Fork tee. This one is my 6th sweater, and this is my crocheted sweater, which I absolutely love. This was a complete experiment. I will put links to the videos that I watched that got me started. But once I got started, I just figured it out by trial and error to see where to split for the sleeves, how wide it had to be. I ripped it back many times because I either didn't have enough breadth in the shoulders, or I ended up having the right breadth in the shoulders, but then the raglan increases were the wrong pace, so I ended up having like this really wide thing. And I crocheted this sweater out of, oh, I guess I can consider that to be a learning, because I've never crocheted a sweater before. Hey, there you go. Maybe moving on my new techniques from a C to a C+. But this is Lion Brand Mandala Ombre, and great yarn. I held it double and I just let it do what it wanted to do. I didn't do too much yarn management. I might have cut a piece or here or there, but not too much. And fun knit, cost-effective knit, well, crochet, pardon me. Sorry, my computer keeps stopping. But triangles are my most favored shape for a shawl, and because I get cold right about here. So this is perfect for me. It's a 1 skein. You could add tassels if you wanted to. It's not too small. And this particular, it's by Nora Backlund. It is a free pattern, very popular. You've probably heard of it. You need about, they say anywhere from 300 to 420 yards. Go for the 420. Use a full, large fingering weight skein. You'll get a better shawl out of it. And it's knit on a 3.5 millimeter needle. What I would say is, I think I didn't follow the instructions correctly because I don't have as many eyelets as in the picture. So somehow I missed the part of the pattern that was doing all the eyelets. So I'm going to make this one again with all the eyelets. Mine is quite closed, where the other ones seem to be quite open and airy. But I love it, and I would definitely make it again. The next shawl is the Tassels in the Sky shawl. And this is by Vincent Villapando. And this is actually a 2 skein shawl. It's really only one. So if you wanted to just knit it without holding yarn double, it's a 1 skein shawl. Look at how long. The way it's constructed is it's not as deep as the Reina, and very long skinny ties at the end. So this one is made with holding a strand of slub yarn. 1 skein of slub yarn held together with silk mohair. You could also use alpaca if you wanted to. And you don't have to use slub yarn. I did. I love it. I used Sweet Skein of mine. Her slub was called Madame Marmalade. And the mohair that I used was, I've had it for a long time. It's called Rudolph. Believe it or not, more of a Christmassy color. But it just turned out really, really nice. I would highly recommend this pattern. If you're going to use a slub yarn, what I would say is don't do what I did. Don't do what Linda did. Linda always does something a little bit bizarre. But what I did, hang on 2 seconds. I'm just going to fix the light again. Hang on 2 seconds. There, hopefully that's a little bit better. Clouds came over, took away the sun. Anyway, so what I did, I don't know if you can see the slubs. Hopefully you can see the slubs. I spent a lot of time making sure all these little nubs were at the front of the work. I don't know why I was obsessed with that. I wouldn't do that. Don't do that. If you're knitting with the slub yarn, just let these little nobules go where they want, because what I ended up doing is having a very flat back and a very nubbly front, which looks nice, but there's a definite difference between the front and the back now. So it's less reversible, and I've talked about that before. But I would highly recommend this pattern. It was absolutely a blast to knit, and I love the tassels. Tassels in the Sky by Vincent Villalpando. So that is that one. Then, la pièce de la résistance was my stillness. And I'm not going to be able to show this whole thing to you. I will show you maybe half of the shawl. This is the Stillness shawl by Helen Stewart, or Curious Handmade. This was her 2020 mystery knit along in May of 2020. And somewhere I got the stitch count wrong and I doubled it. I don't know. Anyway, so it is just absolutely fantastic. I'd highly recommend any of her mystery knit alongs. They're wonderful, they're a lot of fun, and she creates such beautiful, elegant designs. And yeah, so this is a schlanket. This is actually my fall blanket for my knitting space. It's just huge, it's massive, but I absolutely love it. And this is one of my long-standing whips that got finished, so yay. Very happy with this particular shawl. Can't put it over there. Okay. So, the last shawl that it's not really shawl, it's a cowl, and that is The Shift by Andrea Mowry. And you're all familiar with this. Who hasn't made a shift? It's almost like the ranunculus. Who hasn't made a ranunculus? But this is the Shift cowl. I absolutely love this pattern. I made mine, now the pattern calls for a sport weight yarn, and I think she used Spin Cycle or something like that, but I used Cascade Waves worsted, which gave me all the beautiful color variations, and yet a much more cost-effective option. And it just turned out gorgeous. I absolutely love it. Now, because mine is worsted, it's much heavier, much denser. It doesn't drape the same way, but I'm okay with that. I like this. I like it to be close up. It is not choking in any way, shape, or form, but just the way it sits close to my neck and chest, which is what I absolutely love. And I can't recommend the pattern enough. It is fun. It's just a slip stitch motif, and you knit it. You start, where did I start? I have to try and remember, what edge did I start on? I think I started with this corner was my bottom, and you end up knitting all the way up, but this is where you finish, and it ends up being the bottom. So when you start, just remember, the yarns you start with on this pattern are going to be at the back of your neck. Where you finish is what's going to be showing in front. So kind of important if you have any color preferences, because I was looking for basically that is what I thought was going to be in the front, and what ended up being in the front was all the blues and the yellows. Not a problem. Ooh, fluff. Ooh, not a problem. I love it anyway, but just FYI. So that is the last shawl that I made in 2022. So, oh no, that's not the last shawl. Yes, it is the last shawl, because I did the Speckle and Pop already. So that is the last shawl. Of all my shawls that I made this year, I'd have to say, no, I didn't do my Speckle and Pop yet, did I? No, I was thinking that was a different iteration of this video. Sorry. So the last shawl that I made was Stephen West's Speckle and Pop. Am I showing you the right way? Stephen West's Speckle and Pop. And I absolutely, look at the border on this. And I'm going to just confess that, no, this is the back side. Oh, here we go. This is the front side. And I'm going to confess that my border is only half the depth the border should be. I ran out of yarn. So I ad-libbed. But it is absolutely a stunning, stunning work of art. As all, look at this piece. This is a completely design feature. Just this extra little whimsical anchor, you know, hook of your shawl. And it just falls so beautifully. And so what I love about this shawl, one, it's Stephen West. It was a previous mystery knit along of his, maybe 2016 or something. But what I love about this is that it's all garter in between eyelets, so it's not overly complicated. You can follow it. And then you get this beautiful, interesting border. Look at that, it's just fascinating. And the yarns I used were West Wool Bicycle, so that's Stephen West's company, as well as Ancient Arts. The Color Pop is one skein of Ancient Arts. I met Stephen West and I liked it. So this was meant to be this project, and this is my favorite shawl knit of the year. I have to say, absolutely favorite shawl knit of the year. So, also a long-standing whip that was completed. Hoo-yah! So, just banging them off. Absolutely lovely. Then, moving right along, and if you're still with me, wonderful. I'll understand if you're not. I did 9.5 pairs of socks. I'm not going to go through them all, but those are the 9.5 pairs of socks. I will highlight 4 of them. And the reason being is because 4 of them are specific patterns. So, which are the patterns? Which are the patterns? Oh, did I not do? Oh, I guess only 3 of them. 3 of them are specific patterns. 3 of them are specific patterns. So, these are the Blueberry Waffle Socks. The Blueberry Waffle Socks by Sandy Turner. This is a free pattern. Look at how beautiful that. And it's a DK weight pattern. So heel flap and gusset. I just did, in this particular pattern, it comes with a rounded toe. So much fun to do. Oh, I had never done that before either. So that's kind of neat. Okay, learned something new. But a DK weight. This to me is a house sock because for me, it's got too many stitches. The DK, I did the regular stitch count, the medium stitch count for a DK weight sock, and it turned out to be too big. So I have to go down a needle size. First, I got to try that again, do it down a needle size, and failing that, just go down a sock size. So these, they're too sloppy to be in boots or shoes. So those, I love them, but they were a DK weight sock. The other free sock pattern that I used was called Twizzler. And now this is by Tangled Becca. It's also a free pattern, and basically it just gives you, oh, hang on a second. I should have told you that this yarn was Yarn Cafe Creations in her biscotti sock, DK, in the colorway Cinnamon Pumpkin Latte. There you go. These are the Twizzler socks by Tangled Becca. These are in Homespun House in the 2021 Hogwarts Christmas colorway. Don't like the way they pooled. Yeah, some people are a fan of pooling. I don't like the way these pooled. It's unfortunate. I hope the rest of my Homespun House socks don't do that. But, I mean, beautiful colors. Absolutely love the colors. But the Twizzler sock pattern is just a slip stitch. So great. I thought I could do it on my own without a pattern. If any of you have watched me in the past, you know that was a disaster. So I followed the pattern this time and it worked out beautifully. So I wanted to highlight that. And the last patterned sock, this is a paid for pattern by JP Knits, which is the Bandon socks, which if you saw my Christmas one with my mom, you would have seen that I actually did this. And this is such a beautiful lace pattern up the inner side of both socks, and then garter in the front, which is unique. That's very different. And it looks really nice on, and heel flap and gusset. So this is JP Knits. So those 3 socks I wanted to highlight just because they were patterns. Everything else I've done is just my vanilla, no pattern, just 3x1 ribbing or just plain, and there you go. I made 2 hats. I made a Musselburgh by Yolanda Teague. Is it Yolanda? Isolda Teague, I think her name is. Oh, I'm having a brain burp. And again, I did it all from scraps, which was lovely, and they were all pinks and beautiful colors, and it turned out that it just suited my sister much better because it was a little bit too big for me, and it was totally her color, so I left it with her. So that was hat number 1. Hat number 2 was the Cozy Me beanie. For the life of me, I can't find the pattern. I have looked on Ravelry. I have looked at I must have left the paper in one of our accommodations. I cannot find this pattern. I'm sure someone will be able to find this pattern, but I checked Ravelry. Doesn't matter how I spelt it, how I put it together, nothing came up. So I don't know what happened to this pattern. I don't know. But anyway, this is a lovely pattern, and this yarn was my Woolly Cauldron in the Santa's Summer Sangria colorway, and this is, what is this? Madeline Tosh. Yes, this is Madeline Tosh in, is it Madeline Tosh or Malabrigo? No, it's Malabrigo in fuchsia, and it's just their bulky weight. But love that hat. That turned out really well. And then, what else did I make? I also, in 2022, made the gnomes. Okay, so this one is a long-standing whip. This one is home is where your hat is, or home is where you hang your hat. And I made this in 2000. I started it. This is a long-standing whip because I started this in 2019, and all I got done was the hat. The hat is this beautiful color work, and I did all of the rest of it out of scrap, just little scraps, and I finished it this year. So I'm really happy with this guy. So that's, gnome is where you hang your hat, I hope. And then I've got these 3 that I did this year. Oh my goodness, I cannot reach. This is bad planning on my part. Bad planning on my part. But these 3 are my gnomes. It was make gnome mistake, and you're only supposed to make 1. I made 3 because I just had so much fun making them. And it was a gnome make along with landscape designs. They do it all the time, and this one in particular I love. This is all Ancient Arts. They had a kit, and so I used their kit for that gnome. Can't remember what the kit was. And these 2, I just put these together out of minis that I had. And so I love them, and they're filled with rice. It's so cute. They're just lovely. It's so much fun. It's fun to make silly things sometimes, and I like gnomes. I don't know what it is about gnomes. And in case you're wondering why I'm so red, 1, it's the champagne, but 2, it's also very warm in here with that sun that was beaming. It got very warm in my in my little craft room. So that is all of my makes for 2022. Aren't you glad that I've broken this up into 3 videos? I lied. 1 last make. I forgot. My habitation throw. This is another Helen Stewart. This was what I did with my Advent and minis last year. And so I started it during Advent, and I finished it. And I just used all my minis that were pinks and types of pinks. And so this was a great travel knit because then I had a blanket and a shawl all in one. So I absolutely loved it. And again, this is the Habitation Throw by Helen Stewart, and it's absolutely lovely. So that was my last, is that my last make? I think that's my last make. So that was 2022 wrapped up. I had a little bit of everything. I had a blanket, I had hats, I had toys, I had knitting, I had crochet. Oh, I did a whole bunch of crochet granny squares, but I don't count those. I did linen, wool. Did I do anything else? Mohair. So basically merino, mohair, linen. Those were the fibers that I knit with. So that's it for 2022 makes. So let's just talk about, I think that's it actually. I'm going to save any finished objects for the next video. So 2023. Yeah, I'll save that for 2023, the next video, because next video we're going to talk about what my intentions are for 2023. Having reflected on 2022, as well as what patterns are really, really inspiring me right now, and what am I going to cast on? So hopefully by the time you see the next video, I will have casted on a few of them and I'll be able to show it to you. So for those of you who are, oh, last thing, don't go away. Rewind. I have a giveaway. I almost forgot. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I almost forgot. That would have been disaster. Disaster. In my last video in November, I was giving away 2 skeins of yarn to 2 lucky viewers. One was the Woolberry skein, which is, I love the title of this. This is from one of their advents, Bilbo's 11th birthday. And this is a beautiful warm red tonal with little flecks of black in it. And the occasional hair of mine, thank you very much. And that is in their 80% merino, 10% cashmere, 10% nylon. There's 400 yards. So that is one prize. The other prize is this sweet fiber yarn that was part of their sock club in 2021. And this is called Lavender Clouds, and it's an 80-20, and it is 415 yards as well. Both of these are enough to make a 1 skein shawl. And they're definitely soft enough to do a shawl versus socks. But these are the 2 options, and I was giving yarn away because, one, I was celebrating 4,000 subscribers. Thank you so much to each and every one of you. I have no intentions or aspirations around number of subscribers. So I was thrilled when I had 35, super stoked when I got to 1,000, blown away that I'm at 4,000. And so I have no aspirations to be 15 or 50. This is for the fun of knit. And sometimes I think the bigger it gets, the more work it becomes, and I don't want that. So if you like and you're enjoying this, by all means subscribe and you'll see my next video, but not necessary. But for those of you that are subscribed and you did comment on my video in November, one for 4,000 subscribers, and the second part of the fun was because I'd been podcasting for 3 years. So we are going to draw, and the way this works is you saw the 2 skeins. Whoever gets drawn first gets first choice, and the second person gets the second skein of yarn. So we're going to see this together. Let's see who this turns out to be. This is so exciting. And who is this? Dorcas613. And don't forget, this is pre-Christmas knitting, so these comments are relevant to pre-Christmas knitting. I'm knitting a vest that will be my first steeked project. Awesome! I'm excited to cut my knitting on purpose, as opposed to by accident. Dorcas, I'd love to know your actual name, but please, Dorcas613, please instant message me on Instagram under For the Fun of Knit, all one word with 2 T's, For the Fun of Knit, or email me at forthefun-of-knit-vlog@gmail.com. So there you go, and you get first choice. There you go. The next, so let's do this again. Pick another winner. Here we go. Winner number 2 is Diane Johnstone. Sorry. I'm knitting and enjoying the Faye. Oh, designed by Monica Wesley. I know that pattern. That's very pretty. Wishing you and the family safe travel to Spain. Well, Diane, thank you very much. We had safe travels there and back, and we are back now. So Diane Johnstone, if you want to DM me or email me, and I'll put the stuff down below, and you get one of those skeins of yarn. So thank you so much. I greatly appreciate all the viewership, all the thumbs up. Thumbs up. If you enjoy this video, please do give it a thumbs up. And what I would say is, for all of you that commented on my Christmas videos and I haven't responded, my apologies. The technology did not allow me to do very much. And between having family visiting, I couldn't find a space, and sharing a house with 5 adults, that's another story. But I just could not get either the connectivity or the space to actually do what I normally do, which is, respond to the comments, which I love. So I do apologize, but going forward, I will continue to respond to comments, and I appreciate each and every one of them. So don't stop. Thank you so much. So for those of you that are here for the knitting and you want to move on, I'm going to go into a little bit of chatter. And I just want to thank you for taking the time to celebrate the passing of 2022 with me. And I'm looking forward, hopefully you're looking forward to seeing what the plans are for 2023. And I certainly would love to hear what your plans are for 2023. So if you're signing off, have a great day, night, morning. And for those of you that are sticking around, I've got like 5 minutes of just an update. So, Happy New Year. Okay, so where did we leave off? Mum and I flew to Spain December 5th. Premium economy, lovely, masked the whole time. Our flights were super delayed. I think we told you all this in the last video, so I won't go into too much. We were up for like 30 some odd hours. It was crazy. My mom's 84. So Mom, if you're watching this, you're a trooper. Oh my gosh. But we had 9 days in one apartment. Then we moved to the house in Marbella. My sister and brother-in-law joined us. We were in a beautiful home that, as with all rentals, was not without issues. Let me tell you. Don't ask me what was going on with that house, but the humidity in that house was just absolutely ridiculous. Beautiful, aesthetically pleasing, but that's about all I could tell you about that house. Thank God we were so easygoing and we all got along well, and our schedules all meshed, and it was just an easy time, which is difficult when you've got 5 adults coming, from 3 different households, and you're all merging. You all have your own routines. You all have your own way of doing things. Some people like to put their dishes in the sink to soak them before they put them in the dishwasher. Other people like to have everything super clean and just like throw it in the dishwasher before, anything gets stacked up. Some people like to hand wash their dishes. Some people like to do laundry every single day. Other people want to be energy conscious. It was just, there's a lot of differences. Oh, the way we eat. What was brilliant about this house is it had 2 kitchens and 2 different fridges. Thank goodness. Because my sister and my brother-in-law eat very differently than my husband and myself and my mom do. So it was very helpful. If you ever have to travel with adults, make sure you have space. And that was the intention of renting a house. We knew that we would all need some space, and so we wanted to be respectful of that. So we did splurge a little bit and rented a house that had enough bedrooms, enough bathrooms, different floors, a few seating areas, so that if anybody did want to, get away and just sort of have some me time, they could do that. That said, the TV didn't work, the internet didn't work, pretty much nothing worked. So, but we spent 2 weeks in that, and then Mom and my sister and brother-in-law left on the 28th of December. They went to Portugal for a couple of days before their flight out of Lisbon back to the States. Patrick and I went from that property. You can't rent anything midterm. Now, keep in mind, for those of you that have been following along for a while, this was not the plan. The plan was our apartment in Spain would be ready. We would have already been furnished and moved in. Mom and Patrick would have been there already a long time. He was already in Spain in October. He would have been there. Everything would have been set up. Mom and I would have arrived. We would have had a nice, relaxing 9 days in our own home with our own stuff, pots, pans, cutlery, forks and knives, the dish soap we used to like to use, the linens we like, all our stuff. And then we were all going to go to this house because that was the splurge for Christmas. We weren't going to exchange gifts or anything. The gift was we were all together. And that did work out really well. And then the plan was Mom and my sister and brother-in-law would go back to the States, and then Patrick and I would go back to our apartment. Well, no, apartment wasn't ready, and I've talked about this before. The electrical company in Spain is a monopoly. It's a government-owned monopoly. And the developments that get they're in queue and it's really kind of haphazard as to when they get done. So our place was not done, our whole development was not done. Nobody could move in. There's like, I don't know, 60 or 70 families waiting to move into these places, and they can't get in. So Patrick and I had to rent, okay, first world problems. We had to rent another place for 4 days, which you can't do. So it was kind of like a Airbnb kind of thing. Turned out to be fine. And then we had to go to another property starting January 1st. So we were in 4 properties in 6 weeks. And let me tell you that there's nothing relaxing about that. Nothing relaxing about that. It's different if you're going from country, like if you're on a vacation and you're actually, going 3 days here and 5 days there and 2 days here because you're seeing stuff. But when it's supposed to be your second home and you're supposed to be laying low, no laying low. That said, the last place we stayed in was a lovely apartment in the port area. Everything worked. It was appropriately furnished, appropriately stocked in the kitchen. All the utilities were, everything worked, except for the internet and the TV. It's not that they didn't work, they just didn't work well enough. So then, what did we do? We spent a lot of time golfing, obviously, which was nice. And then we found out that, oh my gosh, the electrical company was at the property, at the development. And so they are actively working on it right now. So we have our fingers crossed, because once all the electrical work is done, then the developer applies to the city of Benavides for the occupancy license. And once they have that, we can then all transfer the deeds, own the properties, and move in. And that should be like another month after the electrical company, I say should be, famous last words. How long has this been going on, people? It's been going on for a while. Anyway, at least a year. So, you never know, 2023, I'm really optimistic. I am really optimistic that 2023 is going to be the year. So, other than that, I do want to say that while we've been having fun in Spain, we definitely watch the news, and we absolutely appreciate that the west coast of the United States has just, really had horrific weather and storms, and so certainly hoping that everybody managed to stay safe through all of that. I know that there were some losses, which is heartbreaking, and the weather is just getting weirder and weirder. It really is, and it's getting more intense. And so now, even here, I mean, we missed all the fun and shenanigans with the snow, because when it snows in Vancouver, I mean, you get an inch, and the airport shut down. I think they got more than an inch, so I'm not trying to be facetious. But here we had some pretty bad weather, and I think the airports were just mayhem over the Christmas period, and so that's not helpful. And I'm listening to, the Weather Channel, the news, as I'm driving today, and they're like, oh, El Nino is going to be back again this summer, so expect more heat waves. Oh, this is not good. This is not good. The weather's definitely shifting, It's definitely shifting. So just be prepared. Hopefully you have air conditioning, or if you don't have air conditioning locally, please, if you live in an apartment, please go get one of those portable air conditioners from Costco or Home Depot or somewhere. If you have a loved one who is a senior and they live alone, please make sure that they at least have an air conditioner in their bedroom, because the summer's going to be another tough one. So that's just where my brain goes, and I'm like, oh, I don't want a repeat of last year, or the year before last, actually. It was really tragic. Last year I don't think was that bad. It was the year before. But anyway, I digress. Other than that, Duke is healthy and happy. He survived his time in the kennel, and actually you would never even know he was in the kennel. I think he had way too much fun. He lost a little bit of weight running around with all the other puppies. So he's doing really well. Mom's doing really well. She has decided that 6 weeks away from home or 5 weeks away from home was just a bit too much. So while she enjoyed herself, we have decided that 2 weeks going forward is the maximum for Mom. Otherwise, too many flights, too many changes, too much difficulty with the time lag, the jet lag, and just that security of being at home. So she has let us know that 2 weeks is kind of her sweet spot. not a problem. So it's much travel. So we're planning on going to Holland in September, fingers crossed. So family, look out, we're coming to Holland. But we're looking forward to planning all that, and I will give you more updates on that as we go along. Anyway, I should probably cut it off there because this is supposed to be a shorter segment and it never works out that way. So a big thank you to all of you who keep following and watching along and sharing my shenanigans. And a big hug to all of you. And I love all your comments. As I said, one of the things I'm just loving is the community, you know, just making friends, virtual friends, that we have such a common passion and a common interest, and it really makes us kindred spirits. And so I'd love that to continue in 2023. And on that note, I just want to wish you all the very best. Have a fabulous evening, morning, afternoon. And I look forward to talking to you hopefully next week with part 2 of this series, which is going to be what's going on in 2023. Thanks so much. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.
Good morning, everybody. It is January 3rd and a beautiful day in Estepona. And I am just heading into Old Estepona. It's probably going to be about a 20-minute walk, partially along the waterfront, to, believe it or not, donate some of Mom's clothing to the local shelter. Mom did a little bit too much shopping and couldn't fit it all in her suitcase. So I'm going to show you a little bit of the town as I walk through it. So right behind me is the roundabout that is at the end of the Port Road, which is one of 3 main entrances into Estepona. There's Avenida Puerto, which is this one. It is the Port Side Road, which is the far west of Estepona. In the center of town is Avenida Juan Carlos, which cuts right down to the center, top to bottom. Mountain to beach. And then the third one is Avenida Andalucia, which is on the east side of town, again cutting from the mountain to the beach. So we're gonna walk along the beach from the west side of Estepona all the way to the middle of Old Town. Okay, so I have walked halfway from the west side of Estepona. I'm in the middle. This is Avenida Juan Carlos, and this is the main drag that breaks up, don't you love it, Amazon Prime. There you go, small town. That goes down the center of town from the mountains to the beach, and there is the big roundabout circle at the center of the beach. The beach is just behind this hut here. Now, if you go that way, I can't really take a picture of it. I'll try and insert a picture. It's all blocked off because they've been doing construction. So I'm gonna walk this way. I'm gonna walk east and show you a little bit of the beachfront. Here you can see the entire west side of the beachfront is under construction. They have taken this that used to be a 4-lane car road, and they are putting trees in the center of it, and it's all going to be bricked and just for pedestrians only. Is the east side of the beach, the other half that's already been completed. These trees right here never used to exist. Last year this was a 4-lane roadway with delivery trucks and cars and mopeds and everything. Now it is strictly 100% pedestrian. And so they have this whole walk area, 2 sides to walk on, and I'm just going to take you down a path to get to the beach. I can't put my camera into the sun, so bear with me. This might get a little weird. But this is now the other promenade that's always existed. Well, always, probably in the last 10 years. And this is the main beachfront of Estepona. So I have no idea about the volume and whether or not you can hear me, because lots of people, a little bit of traffic. I'm in the center of Old Town and more of the working, actual living part of Old Town versus the touristy part. And I'm off to the one and only yarn shop that I know in this area that sells predominantly acrylics, but some kacha, some 100% merino, commercially produced kacha yarn. So let's go see what they might have. Okay, so I fell in love with this kacha yarn, which you can see if I can point to it right there, the glittery stuff. And that is Kacha Gatsby, which is just a lace weight sparkly yarn I chose two colors, a beautiful pinky purple and an aubergine, so a darker purple. And I was gonna knit those with navy. Gosh darn it if they didn't have 10 skeins of the navy in sport weight. And that was the baby merino that you see right there that I was looking for to knit with. Okay, my hunt continues.